welcome to video 13 of my RimWorld tutorial video series. And no, your eyes are not deceiving you. This is not the colony we have been started with, and with Maxie and Anessa and Bog and Yana and Guillermo. No, this is actually a colony on one of my other save files that I just play in my free time. But I thought it would be a nice change of pace to kind of give you a look at kind of where you can go with your colony and what you can do with it, and the things that, you know, I played this game for so long without even realizing some of the things that are even available to you to do in this game. And by no means are all those things present here, but I thought it'd be cool to kind of see some of the things that you can do. And then the mechanic I want to talk to you today about is caravanning, which is a very useful but intimidating mechanic. But first, I'll give you a bit of a tour of this colony. Now, I would call this colony towards the late stage of the game. You know, you can really determine how you play the game and when you want to end it, or even if you ever want to end it. I have a lot of colonies that I never end, just want to keep on going in perpetuity of seeing how long I can just survive forever and not wanting to escape the planet, which is, in the game's world, the ultimate goal and the end game of the scenario. I would call this late game because we've pretty much done all of our research. We've researched almost everything. Especially we have researched everything that is needed. Once we get the vacuum cryptosleep caskets researched, we will have everything researched needed in order to build our own spaceship in order to get off the planet. But we haven't started constructing it or anything, so this is not the latest game stage of the game, but this is definitely a colony that you could do really well with. It's definitely late middle stage, if anything. So you might be seeing some things that look familiar, and you might be seeing some things that you have no clue what they are. So let's just do a bit of a tour around. Starting at the top, here are a few bedrooms for extra colonists that I have recruited. This colony started on the Naked Brutality start. So we actually just started with Jay, naked and alone with no resources, and we have grown it after 4 years into this thriving community of over 20 colonists. So that's pretty cool that you can go from that to this. Yeah, so these are some bedrooms. This is my stockpile of chem fuel. That is needed for a lot of munition stuff, needed to make artillery shells for mortars. So these are mortars that you can use to defend yourself against sieges. You'll get people that will camp out on the edges of the map and bombard you with mortars, so you can bombard them right back. Yeah, these are the geothermal generators that I have mentioned, and they give a lot of power. As you can see, we are in excess. We have 3,000 watts that we can still utilize in this grid, and that probably is going up and up. Yep, see, we have more than 3,000. And we have over 6,000 watts stored in our batteries over here. These are drop pods, which we may talk about today a bit more, but they are for transporting both items or people far distances across the map. And to show you, we are in a temperate forest. We are in a permanent summer biome, very similar to what we started in the other colony, our classroom settlement. And we're kind of smack dab in the middle of this planet, very much like the other colony as well. This is my storage. As you can see, we're utilizing it fairly well. We actually just did a whole bunch of trading, so this is fairly empty, but I was just thinking to myself, I gotta build more of a storage for this colony here. This is my workshop with all my production benches. A lot of these look familiar. There's art bench and stonecutters bench. We also have a machining table. This is where you make most of your guns and armor. And then we have, these are fabrication benches. These are late game production benches, and they're for fabricating. You can make components and advanced components. And most importantly, and my favorite, you can make bionics. So we're making a bionic leg right now for Kanto, who got their leg destroyed when they tried to escape prison when we were recruiting them. So yeah, don't try to escape on me. I think it was this person here. I will not even pretend to know how to pronounce this colonist's name. I've had him for a long time, and I just I've never even attempted to pronounce the name in my head. But they actually have a bunch of bionics because they came to us all beat up. They have an architect leg. You cannot make these. You can only find them or trade to get them, or get them in quest rewards. But architect is a step above bionic. Architect legs, eyes, arms are better than bionics, and bionics are better than the usual body part. Most replacements will give actually less efficiency of that part, but bionics give more efficiency, and architect gives even more. You can see with just one architect leg, their movement is 125%. If you had two bionic legs, it would be 125%. So one architect leg is as good as two bionic. Anyway, that's a digression. Here is my research area, and no, these don't look like normal research benches. These are high-tech research benches. And this is something to keep in mind. The later game stuff that you can build, which are these research benches, these fabrication benches, this comms console, which is for communicating and trading with ships that are in orbit around the planet. All these things cannot be uninstalled. They can't be reinstalled somewhere else. So you really have to know where you want them to be and plan out where they're going to be, because if you want to move them, you have to deconstruct them, and that's a waste of resources, and all of these are super expensive to build. Like this is 250 steel and 10 components, which is not that terrible. But like a fabrication bench, it's super expensive. You need 12 components and 2 advanced components. And advanced components, if you're just buying them, costs at least $250, even with a good 250 silver, I should say, even with a good negotiator. But if you wanted to make an advanced component, it costs plasteel, golds, a regular component, and a lot of steel. So these are expensive things to build. So you don't want to be just kind of placing them willy-nilly around and then having to deconstruct them and losing all those resources and time. And they also take a lot of time and skill to build the things in order to build them. It's crazy. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind late game, is really have these things planned out where they're going to be. This is our prison. We recently removed a lot of those beds in that prison and put them in our bedrooms here. And again, I have changed my ways from when I started this tutorial series. I no longer put end tables and dressers in the bedrooms. Those actually take up space, so they reduce the impressiveness of the room. And comfort doesn't matter when your pawn is unconscious and asleep. But you can see with 2 excellent marble statues and an excellent bed, you can get a room to being very impressive. And this is the same 3x6 that we are making the bedrooms in Maxie's colony, in the Teachers of the Rim colony. So we can get this up to very impressive. And very impressive, if we go to RIL, is a +5. Very impressive bedroom. Where is it? Why am I not seeing it? You can see they just attended a wedding and stuff like that. We might have recently I know Pollock. Pollock has it. So Pollock, very impressive bedroom, is a +5. This is the max bonus that you can get out of a room this size. So we have maximized the efficiency. It's easy to get it up to somewhat impressive, which is a +4. It just requires basically a good marble statue and a bed. I have only excellent beds for my colonists, because only the best for my colonists, or masterwork. I think a few of them have a masterwork bed, like Pollock. So a +4 is easy to get. The +5 is harder, really hard to get, but it gives that extra one. and that's because of the space restrictions. In a bigger room, you can get up to extremely impressive, which is a +6, and I'm not actually even sure what's above extremely impressive. That's a new one on me, but the extremely impressive +6 is no laughing matter. Everyone is super happy because they attended a wedding. We had Rue marry Shark, and when you get married, you get a +40, so it's like a catharsis, but it lasts 30 days. In case I never mentioned it, how time works on this map is it's 4 quadrums, so basically 4 seasons, and you can see the months there: April, May, August, September, and December. We are in a permanent summer biome, but those would be, spring, summer, fall, winter. And each quadrum lasts 15 days. So a whole year is 60 days, and this colony has been going for 4 years. We've been going for 240 days. And we went from, naked brutality start to all of this. So I'm pretty pleased with ourselves. So that's a bit about bedrooms. You can see we have a nice sterile hospital. This is sterile tile, so it increases the cleanliness factor. And we have hospital beds, well made, like a masterwork hospital bed. And these are awesome because they give lots of bonuses to surgery success chances, which we need for bionics and rest effectiveness and all sorts of things. We even have TVs going for our hospital so that they can still get their recreation when they're at the hospital and recovering. We have other means of recreation that you haven't seen before, like a piano. We have a harp here. This is a throne room for Jay, who I'm not going to get very high. They've already reached the highest I'm going with them in there. They are a, what is it? They're a dame. So the Dame Duke level. And basically this just means, I think they just won't do dumb labor. So it's not that annoying. And here they have a good amount of sidecasts. What else? Oh, there's also Devil Strand, which I mentioned in a previous video, I believe, which is a mushroom. It grows really slowly. Even in rich soil, it grows super slowly. And it takes a really high growing skill level in order to even sow it, to use it. And it requires you to research the ability to even plant this stuff. So there's a lot of time spent even before you can put it in the ground, but it makes an amazing material that is awesome for clothing. So you can see most of my people have a red duster that is a Devil Strand duster, and it is the best material you can make dusters out of, other than Thrumbo fur. Thrumbo fur is the best material for pretty much any clothing, and Devil Strand, in my opinion, is the second best, especially for hot biomes. If you're in the desert, I would even prefer Devil Strand over Thrumbo. Thrumbo fur is better in armor, but Devil Strand gives you, I think all these pawns can withstand 130 degrees Fahrenheit. We had a heat wave that got up to like 112 recently, and no one was fazed by it. Still got the slept in the heat stuff, which is annoying. They still don't want to be sleeping in that temperature, but they don't mind being out in it, and they won't get heat stroke because they have awesome Devil Strand dusters. Yeah, so that's a bit. Oh, you can also see this is my this is my pet zone. We have some hay there for the grazers, and we have a ton of animals. We started on a naked brutality, so we started with nothing, but then we got a random event early on that gave us 3 huskies. And you might notice the Star Trek references in my naming of my animals, but the 3 huskies turned into an army of huskies. We recently sold a whole bunch of our husky puppies because we were just they were eating all of our food, honestly. This is the problem. This is the balance of having a lot of animals, especially ones that aren't grazers, it's hard to feed them, especially in the wintertime. If you have winter, it's even hard to feed the grazers. You have to think about that. We also have cobras. I made this cobra pit I don't even remember. I think I just randomly bought 2 cobras because for the fun of it, and I decided to make this cobra pit, and I put corpses in here because they'll eat corpses. Yeah, this is my cobra pit. I haven't really done anything with it, and then you can sell cobras for like about $100 for a mature cobra and $40 for a baby cobra if you have, let's say, someone who has at least a social of 10 or 15, I think. Anyway, so that's kind of a look at all these different things. Oh, and real quick, this is my kill box. I'll definitely devote a whole episode about kill boxes, but just going over it real quick, I put sandbags in there, and that slows them down. It takes like an enemy like almost a whole day to walk through here, or a half a day to walk through here. So it gives plenty of time. Like when an enemy is right about in this row, the 3rd row, is when I draft all my people to come down here and join the firing squad, because they'll get here before a person in this 3rd row even exits the kill box, no matter where they are, like in this colony. And yeah, I'm not going to go too much into it, but the spacing here is based off of the SMG, which is really the kind of the best weapon in the game if you're just going for DPS, straight damage, regardless of skill and stuff like that. It's also, I think, these are my 2 hunters, Lumi and Marley, because they have now a shooting of near 20, I believe. Yeah, 18, and Marley probably has 20. And they used to have sniper rifles. I had an excellent sniper rifle, but honestly, they hunt a lot faster with SMGs because one round of SMG usually kills an animal, or a couple rounds of it does. And a sniper rifle takes so long to shoot, and then if you miss, you just have to keep going. And even if you hit, it can kill in one shot, but if it doesn't, then you just have to keep going. So it's SMGs really are the best. Charge rifles are also pretty good, but I usually stick with good SMGs and assault rifles. But supplies warrant doing whatever you need. All right, so in the second half of this video, I did want to talk about caravanning. Caravanning is a very useful mechanic, but it is also quite intimidating. I know I avoided caravanning for the longest time because ultimately it involves taking people out of your colony so that they're not there to defend it or help it out or help it work, and they're off doing their own thing. What are the reasons for wanting to caravan? There's a few. One, for trading. Especially if you're in a more difficulty setting, trading will not come to you as often. You have to go to it. So that's why we have the comms console to talk to ships that are in orbit. But ships aren't usually in orbit. It's an event that happens. So it just doesn't happen as often, especially in the higher difficulties. So you have to go to the trading. So you have to form a caravan, go and visit those people, and trade with them. With the comms console, you can also invite people to bring a trade caravan to you. You can only do that with allies, and when you do that, it costs goodwill. So it takes a little bit. It reduces your how much they like you by a little bit because you're asking something of them. So in general, when you want to trade, you form a caravan and you go to the nearest neutral or ally faction. And for us, in this, the nearest neutral is this colony here. These start out as hostile, but we have traded. It's now actually an ally of ours. So, oh no, these start off as neutral, sorry. The blue ones are the ones that start off as a hostile, and they're now neutral to us. So you could trade. Another reason to caravan is to raid. Go on a raiding party. Break, go to this pirate outfit and kill them and make them flee and take their base, or these tribals. You can go on a raiding. Raiding is useful because it gets you loot. You can get the resources from wherever you destroyed. So that's useful. And whenever you destroy a base of an enemy faction, whoever was enemies with that faction like you more. So I think it increases by like 20. You can very quickly, if you destroy a few bases, make pretty much all the other factions really like you, especially if you focus on... I've been focusing on raiding the tribals and the people that are basically no one likes them, and that makes all the other factions like me. So there you go. So that's another reason to caravan. How do you caravan? How does the mechanics work? Well, I'm going to explain that now and give you some tips and tricks for it as well. Okay, so in order to form a caravan, you go to the world map, you select your settlement, and you just hit Form Caravan. It now initially asks you to select where you're going to go. You can change this at any time. Once the caravan is formed and off on the world map, you can have full control over where it goes. So do not worry about being stuck in this decision. This is just giving you a sense of, okay, if you assume an average default caravan speed, this will take about a day to get there. So you accept that, and now here is where it asks you, what do you want in your caravan? The items and travel supplies that it allows you to add to your caravan are only ones that are in a stockpile or a home zone. This is when you're forming the caravan initially. If you're reforming a caravan, and I'll talk more about this in a second, from a secondary location, basically anything on the map, on that tiled map, will show up here. But when you're forming it from your base, it's only things that are in your home zone or a stockpile. So if you want to make sure to take something that is out in the field somewhere, make sure it is in a home zone. Just make a quick home zone over it, and then it will show up here. So what should you select when forming a caravan? Well, that really depends on what your caravan is for. So let's assume we're going to do a trading caravan. If you're doing a trading caravan, oh, and I forgot to mention, the third reason you would want a caravan is to settle another settlement. Real quick, I know this is a bit of a diversion, but by default, you only have one colony. And when you used to increase this, it used to give you a little notice saying, that's kind of against what this game was meant to be. It was meant to be a single colony thing, but you can have up to 5 colonies. I usually don't have multiple colonies going, but it can be useful. You can have a secondary colony for like resources and then like drop pod over the resources from another thing if you've already mined out your tile and need to find resources elsewhere. So you can settle a second tile or a new tile. You can abandon your old colony and settle somewhere else. So that's the third reason why you would want a caravan. And there's other reasons why you'd want a caravan too, also for mood and stuff like that, which I'll get into in a second. Anyway, so let's form this caravan, and let's assume that it's going to be a trading caravan, and we're going to be trading with that faction there. So with a trading caravan, you're going to want someone who is good at social. For me, that is Marley is our best social, so I would want them to come. Your caravan, whenever it forms, is always named after the person who is the best negotiator. So whoever has the highest social. So even though this is really Jay's colony, and I've thought of Jay as being the leader, and they have really good social, Marley has the best social. So if we were to form this caravan and even had Jay in it, I believe it would be called Marley's Caravan. Jay's titles might supersede that, maybe, but Marley will be default doing the negotiations. If we were to trade and there were multiple people in the caravan, it would default to the person with the highest social. So I want to choose my social person. Also, when you caravan, there's always the chance of events happening, you getting attacked, or coming across another trading party that you could trade with, or choose to go aggressive and attack them. So I always have a couple of people, but the more people you have, the more food you need to account for and things like that. Let's take a few more people. So let's take someone with a melee. Why not? Just in case we get into a scrap, we want at least one melee person. So let's take Danny. He has a mono sword, which is a great weapon that just slices off limbs left and right. And heck, let's take a couple more. Let's take, why not? We'll take Ruined Shark. just for the sake of an example. We don't need rue. Okay, what else? So then you can take any animals, but if you're doing a trade caravan, chances are you're going to want to take a pack animal. And if you don't remember which ones are pack animals, they will be the ones that have a carrying capacity. A quick note on pack animals. By far the best pack animal, in my opinion, is the horse. That is because they are the fastest overall pack animal out of any pack animal, and they can also hold 70 kilograms, which is on the higher end of the spectrum of carrying capacity. I think only a yak and an elephant. Oh no, only a bison and an elephant are higher. Bison or buffalo are the same creature in terms of pack animal, and an elephant are higher. Elephants are my favorite pack animal. They carry the most, and they actually have like the third fastest speed. So I like elephants a lot, but they are the hardest to handle. They are super wild, and they have a much higher hunger rate, so they need a lot more food. So these are all things to also consider. This icon next to an animal indicates they can forage. So as long as you're moving in a tile that has grass and stuff for them to eat, you won't need to feed them from your supplies. I usually always bring a little kibble or food or veggies with me anyway, just in case they can't, for whatever reason, forage. But yeah, no, they'll forage. So you don't need to really worry about feeding them. But anyway, horses are the best in terms of carrying capacity and speed and all that. Earlier on, you might want to do donkeys because they require less of a handling skill to handle, and they're pretty much just as good as horses. They're just a little bit less fast and a little bit less carrying capacity, but donkeys are a good early game pack animal, and horses are a good mid game, and then I like to get elephants if I can. But really, elephants aren't worth it if you don't have the food supplies really going and the animal handling ability. Another word about pack animals is alpacas are the worst pack animal because they are the slowest pack animal and they carry the least amount, but they have a 0% chance of being hostile trying to tame them, and they're very easy to tame. So these are usually the first type of pack animal people will get and utilize. And they, you can get wool from them and stuff like that. They're a good animal to have in general. But if you're going straight for pack animals, go for horses or donkeys is my suggestion to you. So you'll notice here, this is the travel day en route. Also, colonists can carry 35 kilograms each, but what they carry is also dependent on their apparel, and their weapon also counts for what they're carrying. So you'll notice my person with a uranium warhammer, they can't carry nearly as much as most other people because they have a really heavy object a uranium warhammer weighs a ton. So they carry like 8 kilograms less than most other people. So that's just a quick thing about that. You can definitely form a caravan of just people, but if you're doing supplies, chances are you're going to want some pack animals. So let's get at least one horse going here. Maybe a second horse, why not? And that already cut our travel time in half because horses are super fast. They can travel 70 world tiles a day unencumbered if they don't have anything on them. This is where you would choose your items that you would want to trade. A big thing to remember here is bring silver. If you're trading, you need to have money yourself in case you want to buy stuff and the stuff you're trading them doesn't offset what you want to buy. So I can't tell you how many times I've formed a caravan, gone trading, seen the exact thing I wanted to buy, but didn't have enough stuff to trade for it and forgot to bring silver. So always bring some silver, and it just really depends on what you're willing to bring with you, and realize that caravans bring a risk. They can get, raided, they can get attacked, and you can lose people and supplies. So think about that. And let's say we're going to bring Notice here we have a lot of corpses that we could bring. That's because they're in a stockpile zone in our corpse pile. I usually bring drugs. I manufacture drugs a whole bunch, mostly just to sell. Let's take like 30 smoke leaf and our yayo. And let's say we're going to be trading, we don't need these beds. Beds are heavy, so furniture is fairly heavy, you're already seeing. And the more we're packing up, now we're back to a day, because now we have some of our animals are encumbered. So if we added more pack animals, it would reduce it, right? But now we need a little bit more food and things like that to think about. So this is where you would choose your items that are not necessary for a caravan, but might be necessary for what you're forming the caravan for. So we might be taking some of our weapons that we want to get rid of. We might be taking some of our, I always selling these textiles, because there's just, we have 1,200 cloth. We don't need that much. So let's take 500 cloth and sell that. Let's sell all of our leathers and stuff like that, because we get that all the time with our hunting and stuff. Because we have 2 people that is just constantly killing everything on the map to hunt. So we're getting a ton of that. We also have all these weapons that are, plasma sword is worth 2,000. All these things. These are persona weapons that, I'm not going to get into right now. But anyway, and I'm noticing that I'm going over in the time, so I'm going to make this a double episode. I kind of got caught up talking about the colony a little bit too much. So don't worry. I'm going to explain everything about caravanning right now. And then the final tab is travel supplies. By default, it chooses for you, and it almost always chooses incorrectly, in my opinion. So I always uncheck this and manually choose what I'm going to take. And now here's what you have to always remember to take. You always have to remember to take food. I have a ton of packaged survival meals. These are great for long hauls because they never expire. I'm going to take them because I have so many, and it will tell you how many days of food you have. Remember, we have about a half a day. We might have let's say a full day that you are that we're going to be taking, maybe. I also want a cushion and things like that. But we only have 3 people we're taking, right? 3 people, so that's 6 meals a day. So that's 12 meals for 2 days. It's saying we have 4.9 meals. I'm not sure why it's saying that, actually. I don't know why it's saying we're having so many meals, but maybe they eat a little bit less, or I don't know. I'm going to take 20 packaged survival meals. They don't weigh a lot. It's okay to do it that way. Ooh, actually. That went from 0.6 to 1 day, so that's interesting. The reason it's jumping so much is also because we are forming this caravan midday. I usually form my caravan right in the morning. That's because after we say go with this caravan, they're going to take a while to find all that stuff and haul it and form the caravan, and that could take several hours, especially if you're taking so many items. So I usually start these earlier in the day. And by default, or not by default, always caravans rest at night. So it takes into account that, if you're going to have to rest, we're going to add that to the time. So that's why it's going from 0.6 days. That means we could just get there before we needed to rest, where this is telling us, we'll probably need to rest before we get there. So that's interesting. That's good to know. I'll take a little bit of hay for the horses and donkeys, even though they'll be foraging. I just do this anyway. We probably could just take some simple meals. We have tons of simple meals. And if you took simple meals and packaged survival meals, your colonists will prioritize the things that will spoil the quickest. So they will prioritize eating a simple meal before they eat the packaged survival meals. That is something I actually learned looking up information for this video. So that was something new to me. I just always took packaged survival meals because I knew most of my caravans last longer than 2 days, and I knew these would just expire. But that's actually not the case. They would be eaten first. So heck, why don't we do that? Take a few less of these. Another thing, you're gonna want to use bedrolls. You want a bedroll for every person in your caravan. So let's take 3 excellent bedrolls. Now, these are Devil Strand bedrolls, and I just made them because I had so much extra Devil Strand. The material of a bedroll does not matter. It affects its selling price, so I might want to sell these eventually because they're really expensive and it's just as good. A Devil Strand bedroll excellent is just as good as a cloth bedroll or a plain leather bedroll excellent. The quality matters more, is the only thing that matters in terms of rest effectiveness and comfort. The material has no say over that stuff, so might as well make it out of whatever you have the most of, cloth usually, or a leather of some kind. But you want everyone to have at least a bedroll. That way they'll stay happy. You cannot take beds. If you take beds, they won't sleep in those beds. You have to take bedrolls, and definitely do this because it makes them so much happier, and I think it helps with their healing if they're healing from like a raid and stuff like that. I always take medicine. I usually take herbal medicine, and I usually don't need that much. This is only 3 people, so their injuries can't be too severe. So, I mean, I'm going to take 10, but that's even more than we need. So food, bedrolls, medicine. Always take for every caravan that you ever make for whatever reason. Always take food, bedrolls, and medicine. And I like to also take panoxycillin to keep them so that they can, I have them on panoxycillin regimens so that they're constantly taking it. And if it's their time to take it on the caravan, they can take it. But they're already carrying some on them, and this caravan's not going to last a full 2 cycles of panoxycillin, which would be like 12 days. So I don't need to take any panoxycillin. And so once you're done and selected everything and everything looks good, and this will warn you if you don't have enough food or if the food's going to spoil or whatnot, you can say send. And it says your caravan only has 4.9 days of food, and then they'll become hungry quickly. So this better be a short trip. It is. Confirm. Go. So now what is happening here is, I'll speed it up. I have some caravan packing spots, so they should form around here and try to pack things up. But this is all dependent on how many people you have hauling. So if you want your caravan to form quicker, go to your work and up the hauling to 1 so everyone is hauling, and then you will form the caravan super quick. And once things get packed and stuff like that, and a colonist is ready, they'll start hanging out near the edge of the map, like you'll see. Also, there's really no predicting where they're going to exit. I know other YouTubers have tried to experiment with this, and it seems to be that there is no logic behind it. Some say that it's the shortest path or whatever, but that really doesn't seem to be. If we were to do this multiple times in the exact same scenario, taking the exact same people and going to the exact same place, like each time we did it, they might exit at a different location. And why are you doing? Oh, you must be grabbing some stuff from over here. Anyway, so we're having people haul. We're going to form that caravan, and boom, it formed. I missed where they went, but they formed and they left, and now you can see we have a separate thing. So now here, the caravan is formed, and it is going to do what we told it to do when we formed the caravan, but at any point we can just right-click, and now it's moving here, it can move there. We can say go and attack here. We can say go and we could attack our allies or our neutral party. We can trade with them, or we could just visit, which I've never done. I don't know what it does, but I think you can like kind of restock and like get healed up better, and it might help your mood or something like that. But we are going to go and trade this caravan, and now you'll see. And we're on a pretty hard difficulty setting, so maybe we'll get raided. And we're getting, all my colonists are so happy because of that wedding that happened, and we recently destroyed a mech hive that was down here. You can see the remnants of some of the mechanoids. That's something we also haven't talked about. These are an enemy on the map. They're these ancient race of mechanoid people, or just robots that are evil and attack all humans. Anyway, so what can we do when we're off in the world? There's actually a lot you can do here. You can monitor a person's needs. You can see how their mood is being affected and all these things. And yeah, you can, just like if they're in a colony, you can monitor these things. You have more limited ways of helping out when they are upset, but there are ways you can help. But here's a big fringe benefit of caravanning, is that it resets their expectations to low. They're now really poor, technically, because they don't have much in the way of material goods, or they don't even have a permanent house. So they have very low expectations. You'll notice the people in my colony, they have sky-high expectations. We're a really rich colony, and they feel like they should be comfortable here. But as soon as they caravan, they now have really low expectations. So this is another reason. This is the fourth reason you might want to caravan, and that is for if you have a person who is in a really bad mood, like we had Ragua, their husband died, and they were really upset. They're happy now because we had the wedding and stuff like that. But I was considering just forming a caravan and having them basically wait just outside of our colony until they got happy again, because their expectations would lower, and that gives them a mood boost. And what I mean by waiting is you can at any time hit rest, and this will stop the colony where they are, whatever tile they're on, and they'll start resting. They'll eat, they'll heal up, and they will rest. Their rest bars will go back up. This is especially important to do right before a raid, because you don't want your colonists raiding someone in bad moods. You know, if they're hungry or tired and they're raiding, that sucks for a lot of reasons. One, they could break, but also if they're tired, it's affecting their consciousness and their ability to shoot and to stay awake. So they're just a worse soldier. So you want to, I usually rest outside of a colony that I'm about to attack. And then once everyone is super happy, then I attack, and super filled and filled up. And you can monitor that all the way through here. I'm just getting tons of inspirations are happening, which is great because of the good mood. And you can see the animals bars as well. You can also very quickly handle their gear. So we took some weapons with us. We can actually very quickly, re-equip them with whatever we want. So this is super handy and neat. So if you're going into a situation and you're about to raid and you realize, oh no, I forgot to give my melee person the best melee weapon. If you have it with you, you can very quickly re-equip it and do all this stuff. If I wanted him to have a gun instead, he would need to take off his shield belt, because shield belts are great. They provide a force field for a colonist, but it means they can't shoot through it because it's a force field that's surrounding them. So it's for protection, and so you only give those to melee units. Anyway, so that's a bit of the controls you can do. And you can also split a colony. Splitting a colony is useful for a couple of reasons. One, if you have a couple of places you want to go and trade with, you could form a massive caravan and then split it from there instead of forming two caravans. If something happens on your way back or your way to something that you want to deal with, like a quest pops up and there's now an outlaw camp over here that we need to destroy, we might split up and send some people to destroy that while the rest of the people go and trade. So that's a reason to split. The other main reason to split is when you're settling. And we don't have the settle button here because our options are not to have more than one settlement. But if I were to move this up, now we have a settle thing. If I were to hit settle right now, you would see that they would settle that tile, and all their stuff would instantly get unpacked into the center of that tile, and all the stuff would be on the floor. Not that big a deal when we only have like a few weapons and stuff, but if you're moving your entire colony and you have all this stuff, it will now just be dropped in the middle of outside, and there's no buildings up yet in a new tile and things like that. So what I do is I split a colonist. If I'm gonna settle, I split, and I just split it, and I have one colonist leave that let's say Danny. Like I just have Danny split off. And now we have Danny's caravan and we have Marley's caravan. Marley has all the animals and supplies and they can trade. And Danny, if I settle with him, he goes into the center of the thing, but he has nothing on him. And so that sets a settling point, and then we can take the rest of our caravan and enter that settlement. And we'll enter from the side, and all of our supplies will still be in the pack animals, and then we can choose where we're putting it and what we deal with the stuff, instead of it being all thrown in the middle and outside so it starts deteriorating. That's how I settle. I split off, have settle one person, and then the rest of the caravan then joins that settlement. But we will merge these two back up. Once they're in adjacent tiles, you can merge them and they reformed, and now we're back to our regular colony, and we're going ahead. So we'll see if we get attacked. And at every caravan at 10 p.m. at 22 hours, they will stop and rest. So they'll probably do that here. They are having to go over a river, which is slowing them down, and some mountainous, rocky terrain. So that is slowing them down too. But here, now it's 22 hours, and they are now resting, and they're using those 3 bedrolls, right? And now it's updated us on our destination, 0.6 days, so we have to just have them rest throughout the night. If ever you want to go quickly back to your colony, you can always hit escape, or you can just click on one of the people that is in your colony, and so that goes right back here. And then to go back to the caravan, you can either hit world or go straight to this like that. So they're going to rest here, and then in the morning, they're going to go up and they're going to trade. Yeah, that's the basics of caravans. It is something that I understand as being very intimidating, especially if you only have like 5 people and you really need to send a caravan out. So you're sending like 2 people out and you only have 3 people, defending your base. That can be really nerve-wracking. So it is something that I have avoided for the longest time, but it's actually a very useful mechanic and can be used in awesome ways. To improve the mood of your colonists, and to raid, which improves your faction's goodwill to all the other factions that you didn't raid, and also trading increases your goodwill with whoever you trade with. You can also, now these are Outlanders, they will never become allies or neutral to us, they're always hostile, but we could go to an enemy, and instead of attacking them, we could offer them gifts. And this will, increase our, depending on the value of the gifts we give them, it will increase their goodwill towards us. So you can also do that with drop pods. Ooh, squirrels on a food binge. You can also do that with drop pods. Drop pods, and I will talk briefly here about drop pods, but drop pods you can load up just like you would do a caravan, but you can then basically instantly shoot across. I have it loaded at a fuel level that is 25 tiles. It's like 58 chem fuel. So it takes a lot of chem fuel to go, but 25 tiles means we can go a fair distance in the world. We can go kind of in this circle. So we can kind of fit everyone in this like weird circle that's defined by this river and road kind of area here. We could drop pod to. So we could just drop pod items to an enemy faction and send it to them as a gift, so we don't get anything in return other than goodwill. So there's things like that. If a couple things about mental breaks and caravans. If while you're forming a caravan, we made the bionic leg, awesome. If while you're forming a caravan, one of the colonists that were supposed to be in the caravan breaks, then the caravan will not leave until that person is done with their mental break. But you can always remove them from the caravan. You can do that easily. I forgot to show you when they were forming it. Here, let's form another one. Let's form a caravan. Let's just go there, why not? say with these people, and with some of these supplies, and good. We'll just say send. Yeah, whatever, confirm. So here, if you notice, there's this like little equal sign or little brown arrows pointing in either direction. That means they're forming a caravan. So you can go to them, and now there's a couple of things you can do with this pawn. You can say remove from caravan, so we can just simply remove them. So now they're removed. So if they were broken, we've now removed them, and the rest of the caravan will leave without them. We can also tell them, oh crap, I completely forgot to add this minigun to the caravan. Well, Alex, load minigun onto the caravan. You can now choose to add any item you want into the caravan. But I will say, if you do it this way, kind of manually doing it after you form the caravan, it's a lot slower because they're going back and forth, and especially if their pack animals thought they were already loaded up, they might be on the edge of the screen waiting, and you're going back and forth and spending a lot of time like adding things to the caravan when it's better to choose it initially because it's a lot faster. So I'm going to just cancel this caravan. We're going to cancel the whole caravan from forming. This is also something that you can exploit as a trick. I don't usually do this because I don't like doing the kind of exploitative stuff, but you can form a caravan, and that temporarily increases a colonist's ability to carry small items like food or cloth, let's say. So if you harvested, let's say, a whole bunch of rice that was down here, and it was like 100 rice. No, let's say it was 1,000 rice. That would normally take several trips of several colonists in order to bring back. But you could, say, form a caravan to go one tile away. Say you're bringing the rice, and they'll pick all this up and bring it over here to start packing it in. And then you can cancel the caravan, and they'll have all this rice here. And then you can just say, hey, drop the rice. And so you've now kind of exploited that hauling feature in order to haul a whole bunch of rice very quickly. So that's something you can do. I usually don't do it, but I've seen a lot of YouTubers use that. It's kind of not even considered an exploit these days. It's more of just a trick of the trade sort of thing. So as soon as this caravan enters, we did say to trade with it, I believe. We'll just double check that we did that. It will pop up just like a normal trade will happen. And this is the stuff. What do we want to give it? What are we buying from them? So let's give them our smoke leaf. Let's give them the yayo. Let's give them all these weapons, and well, I don't know. Let's see. Do they have anything we want? Ooh, they have a mega screen television. That's kind of cool. But nah, don't need it. Whatever. Let's take some of their plasteel. Plasteel is really expensive. Let's give them all the things we can give them to kind of offset that. And see, look, we don't have enough silver. Oh, that was another thing I forgot. I know I emphasized bring silver, but I forgot to re-emphasize it. Always bring silver. I always like to get neutroamine. So, like, let's get neutroamine instead of the silver, or instead of the plasteel. And now we'll pay 67 silver, unload some of our items, so we have more space in our colony. And we'll gain, it's not that much money and stuff being a thing, so it probably won't affect the faction ranking that much, but let's see what it does. No, didn't affect it at all. But it would normally pop up here and saying, you know, factions have increased. If you sell thousands of silver to them and stuff like that, it'll increase like by 3 or 4 points. So it's really not that much. It's not the best way to gain favor, but you know, it does happen. So now we're still here. We can now choose to attack them again. We could split. We can do all the things. We could trade again if we forgot to do something. And you notice when we did trade, it by default is choosing Marley because they're our best social. But we're just gonna head back, and then I will soon wrap this up. So we're gonna head back. Are they saying it's 0.8 days? So they'll probably rest again and come back. But I did want to show you what happens when you come back. I will show you in another video raiding and the kind of caravanning with raiding. Ooh, research. We got that research done. Cool. Cool. Well, I'll just worry about that. So let's have them come back. What else about caravanning? Yeah, reforming a caravan is different than forming it initially. I think I mentioned this earlier, but if you were to attack a base, destroy that base, and not claim it for your own, you can always claim a broken base and say, this is my new settlement. But if you don't do that, and it's just kind of a broken colony, you can then leave, and you can just say reform caravan, and everything on the map tile will be available to you, even stuff that's not allowed. And I should mention that, like, all these survival kits are not allowed because I don't want my dudes eating them just normally. I want to keep them for caravans. But they'll still pick up stuff that's not allowed. They temporarily ignore the forbid option on items when they're packing for a caravan. So everything on the map will be available to you when you're reforming a caravan, and it reforms instantly. So this is something that took me a while to realize, and why that's important is if you're reforming a caravan and it reforms instantly, if you're damaged after a raid and you have people that are bleeding, do not stop to heal them. It'll be a much worse situation. It'll take time. That gives more people chances to break because they'll probably be unhappy because they're, in a shitty situation kind of thing. Reform the caravan immediately, and automatically on the caravan, they will eat, rest, and be healed up. So they'll be healed up by the person that has doctoring. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If you're raiding, take someone who has good doctoring or some amount of doctoring, but they'll get healed up regardless. They'll get healed up, and a royal tribute collector. Yeah, so that's another thing, is that the automatic healing is so effective, and it took me so long to realize that, in that I would stop after a raid and try to heal up, and people would break because they were unhappy, because they were hungry, and we had they were, tired, and they had no beds to sleep in, so they were getting cranky, and it was hot, and, you're raiding a base that isn't set to your standards, so you can't control, when you don't know what's going to be at a base until you enter that tile and it gets generated and you see what it is. So yeah, never underestimate the power of that instant reforming of the caravan. It also means you can grab stuff all over the map when you're reforming it, so you can grab a lot of stuff. And now the caravan is back, and this is what I do whenever a caravan comes back. This is not something that you need to do, but it just saves so much time. So especially since everyone's super into hauling, which I forgot to bring back down. If people weren't into hauling, basically they'll get to it when they get to it, of unloading our pack animals. They will eventually do it, but the fastest way to unload pack animals is I set up a zone called load unload. You can see here, and load unload. And you can see here, it's hard to see, but it's right there. And I'll expand load unload to being more central and in a bigger location. And then all these animals that came with us, it's hard to tell here because they didn't get rezoned during the caravan. So they're now back to the zone they were in when they left. But they're down here. We can just select them. And I'm going to put them in the load unload zone. And once you do that, they're going to go straight to our item supply, and then we are going to just manually unload them ourselves. So here, you can just go to their gear, see what they're holding, and you can just say drop. And boom, they're unloaded, and now you can go back to being a grazer. Boom. You're back to being a grazer, and let's drop all of your stuff. Now, I have a ton of animals that do all of my hauling for me. So that's why I usually don't have my people do the hauling. But for the hauling, the loading and unloading of a caravan, and for putting stuff like in drop pods, that's a hauling task that needs to be done by a human. It can't be done by an animal. So when you're doing caravan stuff, you want to increase your colonists hauling stuff so they load up the caravan more quickly. But looky here, we have, let me make sure you guys are all back. Yeah, so we've now dropped all of the stuff that was here, and that took us no time at all. So that's my trick. That's what I do when I'm unloading a caravan. And there you go. I know that was an hour of me talking, but I hope that gave you a lot of information about caravans, the mechanics behind it, and it really, I'd encourage you to not be intimidated by it. I understand how intimidating it is, especially early game, but it can be so useful, and the attacks are not as common as you might think. I'm on a hard difficulty setting, and especially if you're not going with a lot of wealth. When I do a big trade, then usually I get attacked. But, you know, if you're doing a minor thing, if you just really need... Oh, and that's the last thing I'll say. Now that we've traded with this person, you can always see what a faction will buy. If you go, what will they buy? And then you'll see they'll next restock in 16.4 days. So you can't see what they have to sell until you get there, but you know that it's going to refresh. They'll have new stuff in stock in 16.4 days, you know. So if they had something that we wanted but we could not afford, we now have 16.4 days to go back, and they'll still have that. After 16.4 days, they may not. So that's something to keep in mind. And here, you know, these guys will never trade with us. These guys will trade with us if we become neutral with them. We're currently picking on them, and you know, they used to have a couple of settlements over here that we destroyed. So they will never want to trade with us, but ultimately you can see what they would buy if you could trade. And in general, they'll buy most things. But if you want to double check and make sure, you can do that there. And there you go. That was my thoroughly exhaustive talk on caravanning. I hope you enjoyed seeing kind of where a colony can go. And I think for the next couple of episodes, we were going to stick with this colony. I'm going to just reload it from the same neutral spot so that, I mean, this colony is constantly getting attacked and raided, so I found an area of respite where we can reload from. But we'll also talk about, you know, we'll do a raid one. We'll talk more in depth about defenses and the kill box and late game stuff with this colony. We'll do that. And then we can go back to the old colony and try to get them up to this level, and we'll explore the tricks along the way of that. But again, I welcome your questions, comments, concerns in the comments below this video. I love to hear from you. And until next time, good luck out there and have fun. Sorry, one last thing I completely forgot to mention. Dropping back in here is that about foraging. I completely forgot to mention that, but as well as grazing animals that will forage and eat food on the run, your colonists will do so too, as long as you're going through tiles that have forageability. And you know that by looking at the specific tiles on the thing and the biome, but we're in the, you know, we're in the forest, the temperate forest, so tons of forageability. And your colonists will forage. This shows you how much nutrition they're going to forage per day. This shows you how much nutrition they need. So a meal has 0.9 nutrition, and they need 1.6. Most people need 1.6 a day. So that's like actually 1.5 meals. But what it equates to is they eat 2 meals. They eat more nutrition than they actually technically need if they're eating meals. If they're eating berries or pemmican, then they can get closer to being more efficient with that. But they will also, this shows you how much nutrition they're going to forage. Now, if you have a person that is really good at plants, like Jay is, they will forage a lot more. So this is affected by their plant skill. It's also affected by their manipulation and their sight. This person who has a good bionic eye is being helped by that. They don't have great plants though, so it's better to have good plants. Also, if you start as a tribal start, not as a tribal if you have a tribal colonist, but if you have a tribal start, you get a plus 170% effectiveness to forageability for your whole colony. That is just kind of the what you get for a tribal start, because they kind of assume you're going to be more nomadic in that kind of start, because you usually have to go to a lot of that's a very common play style, is to be nomadic, abandon your settlement, travel, settle to a new tile, do some hunting and resources there, and keep on keeping on, where you never build up too much in one spot. So that's just my quick interrupt with forageability, and that they won't be needing those meals always, because they'll be foraging some berries and stuff. And you might have noticed when we unpacked at the end of what was supposed to be the end of the video, there was some berries in our inventory. That's just from the foraging that they're constantly doing. But you'll notice that it's nowhere near the nutrition, because we're not a tribal start, that they need. So you definitely need to offset it with food, but your food will last longer than you think. And that's why I was getting a little confused about the days of food and stuff like that. It's because their nutrition is not equal to 2 meals exactly, and they're also foraging. Completely forgot to mention that. I've made this video even longer, but take care, good luck, and have fun.